so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's continue the conversation. So, in several states that our correspondents have covered, the situation is almost the same in Benin City. From Benin City to Abuja, this is what the nation's capital look like today. Few queues everywhere. By Yelsa, you will see similar scenario. This is Yenagoa, the capital, and in several states you can go on, and we cover right here on Channels Television. In the north and the south, the situation is similar. Let's get some perspective now from Mr. Tonye Cole. He's the co-founder of Sahara Energy. He was the governorship candidate of the APC in Rivers State. Thank you so much, Mr. Cole, for joining us.
Thank you, Sharon. Always nice seeing you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I mean, that decision of, for all our lives, we've known subsidy. Nigerians have lived with subsidy. But that decision of the president, what do you make of it?
So it's something that was coming. I think Nigerians somehow have always known somewhere that a day will come when subsidy will go. The question has always been, when will that happen? How will it happen? And who will do it? It takes a very bold and courageous person to take subsidy out, especially for politics, because it's a hot potato. But is it something that was going to come? It would come. Now the question is the timing right? Should it be this administration or the last administration that should have done it? Because it's going to be done anyway. And what will be the impact on the people when it's going to be done? And that's where we are today. So, timing. I don't think either at the end of an administration or the beginning of an administration is always the right time to do it. So timing is the right time. Communication. How is it communicated? My take and my read was that it was a communication that said a statement of fact. This is something that was already discussed, something that the last administration had already put on the table. Almost everyone knew that June 30th was the day when it was going to go. So it was already there. Now, it was made to me as a statement of fact. Now, how is it interpreted? And that's where we are.
Subsidy is gone.
Yes.
That was on May 29th.
Yes.
And officially, legally speaking, it should go on 30th of June. Was that a misstep?
No, because I think, again, I come at it from, you're making a statement of fact. But when, at this point, you make that statement, people will interpret it in different ways. So one set of people who may not have been informed about things happening on 30th of June will say that the next day, subsidy is gone means that as I speak at this minute, it's gone. So there's that interpretation that will cause panic. There's another interpretation that says that it's a statement of fact. Within another 30 days or thereabouts, it's going to go. And so this is just the process. But I think that's where interpretation is very, very important. Communication for subsidy removal is critical.
I mean, those who will ask the question, and these are what the critics, I mean, the president is your party man.
Yes.
And this is somewhat like a party decision. And it's affecting the very core of our nation, because that also will trigger a whole lot of things.
It will.
The cost of product in the market, any commodity will be affected, because PMS is directly the major, the fuel for transportation in Nigeria. But I mean, you look at the shock treatment. If there is any kind of human face to that pronouncement.
Absolutely. And so Sean, you've touched on one critical leg. So you see, subsidy removal stands on 3 legs. The first one is empathy. People will be affected, but who is affected the most? When studies have been done on this, and the truth is that the beneficiaries of subsidy 6 times higher are the 1%. The 1%, the rich, wealthy, are the ones who will actually benefit from subsidy in place 6 times more than the poor. But that's a study for another day. But empathy, because the poor, for them, that 1 naira you have taken away means a lot to them. So you need to be empathetic. The next one is that you have to be transparent. So there's a social responsibility. They must believe that when what you are taking away, you have to be able to bring it back in another way that affects them. So you take one from one hand, you give another. They must see that happen. And then the last aspect is that they must believe the trust. Now we have a trust deficit. Empathy, they believe, is there. The transparency as to exactly what are we going to get, that's the communication that would happen. Then the last aspect, this is a new administration, and people believe in hope that when a new administration comes in, they have voted you with the belief that tomorrow will be better. You now need to emphasize and deliver on that tomorrow. They're giving you that liberty that you will bring tomorrow and it will be better. So you have that liberty. The main thing right now is the transparency. What will happen with the money that is left coming out from subsidy, and how does it affect the common denominator of the poor man?
In a country where you subsidize product that you don't even know how much you consume, that has been the position. That has been the reality. That, I mean, we are in a nation.
Sure, we know.
I mean, we're a nation that people talk about 50 million, over 50 million around that a liter per day. But those who say, no, that's not possible.
Yeah, because a lot goes across the border. And you see, these are leakages that we need to stop.
But isn't that supposed to be the first step to fixing it before making that decision?
No. We've been on this journey for over 20 years. This entire thing about supplying your entire neighbors fuel from Nigeria is not new. It's not today. They will tell you about fixing the borders. We already know that the borders are so porous, you can't fix it. We talk about fixing the refineries before you do it. You know also that that is a problem that we have been living with for so long, over 20 years. It's not been done. And I think if we continue looking at, let us fix these borders, let us fix refinery before we remove subsidy would.
So you think President Tinubu made the right choice?
The choice was already made. And that's the truth. That choice has already been made. They spent a long time. And you know, I listened to TUC, I listened to Pegasus. One of the things that they needed, one of the things that had been a problem, which they have done in the last year or so, is that there has actually been a lot of discussion with Labour, with Pegasus, with different unions about how do we remove subsidy, because everybody knows it has to be removed. So just one thing, you remember that last year, NNPC could not remit anything, because all the money that they had was paid off in subsidy. We can't continue that way.
What do you, I mean, if this is happening now and the president make a decision, Labour is saying rescind that decision, this is a joke too far. If you dare us, we show you. Labour is one entity that you don't want to fight as a new government. If you were in Bola Tinubu's shoes, what would you do?
First thing is that I'm going to call Labour, I'm going to call the Nigerian people, and we're going to have a true discussion about where we're moving. That discussion had been done up until now. A new president has come in. He has to communicate with the people on this. And I believe President Bola Tinubu's voice today, tomorrow, and day after will go a long way in assuaging people that this is a man of empathy and he will be able to understand the poor man's problem and how to address it. Once he does that, people will be okay with it.
Issue of subsidy had actually sent a government packing. We know how sensitive it is.
I know, very sensitive.
And there are a lot of racketeers in this game. Those who are making a living out of it. A lot of people will say, look, there's some those who have been involved in this, but they've gotten a slap on the wrist. There's really no proper prosecution for those who are feeding fat on the resources and on the feelings of the millions of Nigerians. There really no way to punish them properly. But the question is right now, palliatives, no full disclosure on what that will be. But going forward, to ameliorate the pains of the poor, the price will go up. Commodities, inflation will be, a lot of things will be affected. What do you think should be done for the poor this time around?
Okay, so the first aspect of it is that we have to make sure as a nation that we already have a database of the poor, and you have to be able to directly impact their bottom line, their pocket. If you are increasing pricing, you need to be able to give cash, conditional cash transfers to the very, very poor so that they don't enter into a lower level of poverty that they cannot come out of. It's critical that you prevent the poor from falling into deeper poverty. I mean, you must be able to...
Although I'm totally out of time, but I'd like to ask you, what happens to the Petroleum Equalization Fund?
That goes with the PIA. It doesn't exist. The PIA has removed that.
So as a major player in this market, what would you say is a major evil in this subsidy?
Foreign exchange differentials. It's a killer. We need and you must address the foreign exchange in here on the one hand, and then secondly, we need to be able to make sure that we localize supply to refineries, local supply, less imports, more local production, get there.
Thank you, Mr. Tonye. A lot of people have criticized that this may make your party more, less popular.
It's a tough decision. It's a hot potato, and it's going to be. It will show the dexterity of the party if you can handle it in the next 30 days.
Mr. Tonye, co-founder of Sahara Energy and governorship candidate of the APC in Rivers State. Thank you so much. Very insightful conversation, albeit very time is not there. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Always appreciate it.
Yeah.